Hello students, today we learn the present simple. The conjugation is very simple. We have a subject like I or your aunt, then the verb in the infinitive without to, have, breakfast, and then the complements at 9 or in an office. But if the subject is third person singular, he, she, or it, we have to add an S to the verb. Let's see the example. I leave. Subject and infinitive. You leave. We leave, you leave, they leave. But he, she, or it lives. We have added an S. But things are not so simple. There are special cases. If the verb ends in O, SH, CH, double S, X, Z, or Y, we add S instead of one S for the third person singular. For example, the verb go ends with O, so we have to add ES with the third person. He goes. Wash. The verb ends in SH, so for the third person we add ES. Washes. To watch. The verb ends in CH, we have to add ES. Address, double S, we add ES in the third person for she. Fix, it ends with X, and we add ES. Kiss ends in double S, and we add ES. Another special case is the case of verbs ending with Y. If the Y is not preceded by a vowel, that is, there is a consonant before the Y, the third person is IES. Let's see the examples. To carry. Carry ends with Y, but there is a consonant before it, so the third person has to change the Y for an I and add ES. To carry, he carries. Study. Study ends in Y. There is a consonant before, so the third person in singular adds IES. Studies. To study, she studies. But be careful. If there is a vowel before the Y, then the third person singular adds only one S, a standard way. Buy. It ends in Y, but there is a vowel before it, so we just add S. To buy, he buys. To play, she plays. The negative. The negative is very easy. We use do not, don't for I, you, we, and they. And we use does not, doesn't for he, she, it. For example, subject plus do or does plus not plus verb plus complements. Example, I do not sing, you do not sing, we do not sing, they do not sing. But he or she does not sing, it does not sing. Now, see, the verb has no S because all the grammatical information is in the auxiliary does. Does tells us that this verb, sing, is third person singular, and not says that it is in the negative. In English, the contraction of do not is don't, and does not is doesn't. Remember that they use contractions every time. I don't sing, he doesn't sing, they don't sing. The questions. In questions, we also use the auxiliary verb do. Do for I, you, we, and they. We use the auxiliary does for the third person singular, he, she, it. There are two types of questions. Yes-no questions. The answer is yes or no. We have the auxiliary do or does, then the subject, then the verb, and then the complements. If the subject is you, I, we, or they, we use do. Do you like music? Do you get up at 6 in the morning? Now, in the third person singular, he, she, or it, the auxiliary is does. Does he speak English at home? See, there is no S here because the grammatical information is in the auxiliary does. The second type of questions is WH questions. The structure is the same, but we have the WH word before the auxiliary do or the auxiliary does. Where do you live? When does she come back? What time do you get up on Sundays? When do we use the simple present? We use it when we speak about routines. I work in an office. She has breakfast and goes to work. We also use it for permanent situations. She has a car. He has 2 children. And when we speak about natural physical laws, universal truths like the sun appears in the east. Irregular verbs. Do you remember the verb to be? The verb to be is a special verb. It doesn't need any auxiliary. It is its own auxiliary. And it's very irregular. Here's the conjugation. I am, you are, he is, she is, it is, we are, you are, they are. Mind the contractions here. Have is also an irregular verb. It is special, like the verb to be. The conjugation is I have, you have, he has, she has, it has, we have, you have, they have. You see, it doesn't add an S to the third person. It completely changes from have to has. Here are the contractions. I've got, you've got, he's got, she's got, it's got, we've got, you've got, they've got. Now, got is between brackets. You can use it or not. The British usually use I've got and not I've. The problem is the third person. The contraction his, she's, its can be confused with the verb to be. So my advice is always use he, she, and it has without contraction, so your partner knows what you're talking about. There are other exceptions, like the modal verbs. The modal verbs are very special verbs. They do not add S in the third person, and they form the negation and interrogation without an auxiliary verb. We will see them later in the year. Here are some examples in the affirmative. Here are the same examples in the negative and in the interrogative. Conclusion. We use the present simple to talk about our routines or the things that people do in their daily lives. We use the infinitive, but in the third person we add S. Remember, not all the verbs add an S. Some of them add ES, some of them add EIES. use do as auxiliary in negatives and questions for I, you, we, they. And we use does for the third person singular, he, she, it. Remember, the auxiliary is contracted in the negative. Do not becomes don't, and does not becomes doesn't. Okay, I hope everything is clear now. Bye bye.